Part 1. The Wreck in the Dust. The salvage moon of Kessler 7 was a graveyard for starships. Broken vessels covered the land like bones of giant metal beasts. Some ships were small, only big enough for one person. Others were huge, longer than any building on old Earth. They came from wars that happened before humans even knew how to travel between stars. Kang Do-hyun stood outside his workshop and looked at the horizon. The sky was orange because of all the dust in the air. He was 53 years old. His hands were rough from years of hard work. His back hurt when he woke up each morning. But he still worked every day because he had 12 children to feed. 12 children. His wife Yoon Soo-jin always laughed about it. She said other men collected stamps or old coins. Do-hyun collected children. Some were born to them. Others they had adopted when their parents died in mining accidents. It did not matter to Do-hyun. A child was a child. They all needed food. They all needed love. He wiped the grease from his hands with an old cloth. The cloth was so dirty that it probably made his hands worse. But Do-hyun did not care. He had been a mechanic for 30 years. Grease was part of his skin now. His eldest daughter came running toward him. Kang Eun-ji was 24 years old. She was smart. Very smart. She could look at a broken engine and know what was wrong with it in seconds. Do-hyun was proud of her. "Father," she shouted. She was holding a scanner in her hand. The scanner was beeping very fast. "There is something in Sector 9. Something big. Very big." Do-hyun frowned. Sector 9 was at the edge of their claim. The Salvage Guild gave each family a section of the moon to search. If you found something valuable in your section, it belonged to you. Sector 9 had been empty for years, just old junk that nobody wanted. "Show me," he said. They walked together across the salvage yard. Do-hyun's second son, Kang Tae-woo, saw them and followed. He was 22 and good with computers. Between Yoon-ji's engineering skills and Tae-woo's computer knowledge, they made a good team. The walk took almost an hour. The ground was uneven and covered with metal scraps. They had to climb over broken ship parts and walk around deep holes. Finally, they reached a ridge that Do-hyun had never crossed before, and there it was. Do-hyun stopped walking. His mouth fell open. He could not believe what he was seeing. A ship. But not just any ship. This ship was enormous. It was almost 2 kilometers long. That was bigger than any ship Do-hyun had ever seen. In his 30 years of salvage work, the hull was black, so black that it seemed to swallow the light around it. Strange symbols covered the surface. When Do-hyun tried to look at them directly, his eyes hurt. "What is this?" Tae-woo whispered. His voice was shaking. Eun-ji was already scanning the ship with her equipment. Her face went pale when she read the results. "Father, this is a Valari ship." Do-hyun felt his heart stop for a moment. The Valari. Everyone knew about the Valari. They were legends. Stories that parents told their children at bedtime. The Valari had ruled 1,000 star systems. They had weapons that could destroy planets with a single shot. Their warships were said to be invincible. And then, 879 years ago, they disappeared. Every single one of them. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew how. One day they were the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. The next day they were gone. The database says this ship is called Eternal Silence. Eun-ji continued. "It is a Kepler-class dreadnought." "A warship. How much is it worth?" Tae-woo asked. He was already doing calculations on his datapad. His fingers moved fast across the screen. "If even 10% of this ship can be salvaged." "Father, we are looking at enough credits to feed the family for 3 generations. Maybe more." But Do-hyun was not listening. He was not looking at the hull plating or the engine pods. He was not thinking about credits or salvage value. He was looking at the emergency airlock on the side of the ship. The airlock was still sealed. After 879 years buried in the dust of a dead moon, the airlock was still closed tight. His scanner told him something even more surprising. The airlock was still pressurized. There was air inside the ship. "Something is alive in there," Do-hyun said quietly. Unji and Taewoo looked at him with fear in their eyes. "That is impossible," Unji said. "The Valari have been dead for almost 900 years. Nothing could survive that long." "My scanner does not lie," Do-hyun replied. He walked closer to the ship. The black hull seemed to pulse slightly, like a heartbeat, or maybe he was imagining it. "There is power inside. There is atmosphere. Something is keeping this ship alive." Taewoo grabbed his father's arm. "We should report this to the Salvage Guild. Or the Galactic Council. This is too big for us, father. This is a warship. A weapon. We are just mechanics." Do-hyun looked at his son. Then he looked back at the ship. He thought about his 12 children at home. He thought about Soo-jin, who worked so hard every day to keep the family together. He thought about little Min-jae, only 4 years old, who still had nightmares and crawled into his parents' bed at night. If he reported this ship, the government would take it. The military would come. Scientists would arrive from every corner of the galaxy. And the Kang family would get nothing, maybe a small finder's fee. Enough to buy food for a month. Then they would go back to their normal life, pulling apart old ships for scraps. But if he went inside first, "I am going in," Do-hyun said. "Father, no!" Unji cried. "We do not know what is in there. It could be dangerous. There could be traps." The Valari were known for protecting their ships. "I know," Do-hyun said. He pulled out his toolkit from his bag. Simple tools. Wrenches, screwdrivers, a plasma cutter. The same tools he used every day to fix broken engines. "But I did not become the best mechanic on Kessler 7 by being afraid of broken ships." He walked toward the airlock. His children called after him, begging him to stop. But Do-hyun did not stop. He had a feeling deep in his chest. A feeling that told him this was important, that something inside this ship needed him. The airlock controls were covered in dust. Do-hyun brushed them clean with his sleeve. The symbols glowed faintly when he touched them. Blue light, soft and gentle. Not threatening at all. He pressed what he hoped was the open button. The airlock hissed. Air escaped from inside, creating a small cloud of mist. Then the door began to open. Slowly. After 879 years, the mechanisms were stiff. But they still worked. Do-hyun looked back at his children one more time. Unji had tears in her eyes. Taewoo was holding his datapad so tight that his knuckles were white. "Wait here," Do-hyun said. "If I do not come back in 6 hours, call the guild." Then he stepped inside the ship, and the door closed behind him. The darkness swallowed him whole. But Kang Do-hyun was not afraid. He was a mechanic. He had fixed thousands of broken things in his life. And something told him that the most important repair of his life was waiting for him in the heart of this ancient ship. He turned on his flashlight and began to walk. Part 2. The Heart That Would Not Stop. The inside of eternal silence was dark and cold. Do-hyun's flashlight cut through the blackness like a small knife. The light showed walls made of a metal he did not recognize. It was smooth and dark, almost like glass but stronger. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. He walked slowly and carefully. Every few steps, he stopped to listen. The ship was quiet, but not completely silent. There was a sound. Very soft. Very far away. A deep humming that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. After 20 minutes of walking, Do-hyun found the first body. The Valari had been tall. Taller than humans. This one was floating in the corridor, frozen in the cold vacuum that had filled most of the ship. It had 4 arms, 2 on each side of its body. Its skin was not like human skin. It looked like crystal, like someone had carved a person out of beautiful blue glass. The Valari's face was frozen in an expression of pure terror. Its mouth was open. Its eyes were wide. Whatever had killed this person, it had scared them badly before the end. Do-hyun felt sadness in his heart. He did not know this alien. He did not know anything about the Valari except old stories. But he was a father. He knew what fear looked like on a person's face. This Valari had died afraid. He said a small prayer and continued walking. More bodies appeared as he went deeper into the ship, dozens of them, then hundreds. They floated in corridors and rooms, preserved perfectly by the cold and the vacuum. Men, women, children, all of them with that same look of terror on their crystalline faces. What had happened here? What had killed all these people? Do-hyun checked his scanner again. The power readings were getting stronger. Whatever was keeping this ship alive was close now. He followed the signal through a maze of corridors, past sealed doors, and broken control panels. Finally, after 6 hours of searching, he found the engine room. The door was massive, 20 meters tall, and made of the same black metal as the hull. Strange symbols glowed softly on its surface. Do-hyun touched the control panel beside the door, and it opened with a deep grinding sound. What he saw inside made him sit down on a pile of debris. His legs would not hold him anymore. The engine room was huge, big enough to fit his entire salvage yard inside. In the center was a sphere of light, a ball of pure energy, spinning slowly in the air. It was beautiful, blue and white and silver, all mixed together like a tiny star. But that was not what made Do-hyun sit down. Connected to the sphere, hardwired into the ship's systems with thousands of cables and tubes, was a child. A Valari child. She was small, maybe the size of an 8-year-old human. She had 4 little arms crossed over her chest. Her crystalline skin flickered with the same blue light as the engine. She was suspended in some kind of field, floating in the air, her eyes closed as if she was sleeping, and the sphere of light was pulsing, beating, like a heart, 1 beat every 4.7 seconds. Do-hyun counted. The light would grow bright, then dim, then grow bright again. And every time it pulsed, the child's body glowed in response. Do-hyun stood up slowly. His legs were still shaking. He walked closer to the child, being careful not to touch any of the cables. The engineering diagrams on the walls were written in the Valari language, but his translator was slowly figuring them out. When he understood what the diagrams said, he felt sick to his stomach. The Valari had created living warships. They took children and bonded them to quantum singularity cores. The children became the hearts of the ships. Their minds controlled the weapons. Their emotions powered the engines. The ship and the child became one being. This little girl was not just connected to eternal silence. She was eternal silence. The ship was her body. The quantum core was her heart, and she had been here alone for 879 years. Do-hyun thought about his own children. He thought about little Min-jae, who was afraid of thunderstorms. About Eun-ji, who used to cry when she had bad dreams. About all 12 of his children, who needed hugs and comfort and love. This Valari child had been trapped here in the dark, alone, for almost 900 years. No parents, no friends. No one to tell her that everything would be okay. Hot tears ran down Do-hyun's face. He did not try to stop them. He looked at the control panels around the preservation field. They were still working, still keeping the child alive. The quantum core was still beating, still pumping energy through the ship, but the child was not awake. She was in some kind of deep sleep. His scanner beeped. He looked at the screen and saw something that surprised him even more. Brain activity. The child had brain activity. She was not just sleeping. She was dreaming. Do-hyun adjusted his scanner to read the patterns. What he saw made his heart break even more. The child was having nightmares. Her brain patterns showed fear, and pain, and sadness. Over and over again, in an endless loop. For 879 years, this little girl had been dreaming about the death of her people, reliving the horror again and again. "I am so sorry," Do-hyun whispered to the sleeping child. "I am so sorry this happened to you." He looked at the cables connecting her to the ship. There were so many of them. Hundreds of wires and tubes going into her small body. The Valari engineers who designed this system never meant for the child to be removed. The ship and the pilot were supposed to be together forever. But Do-hyun was a mechanic. He had fixed things that other people said could not be fixed. He had repaired engines that were supposed to be destroyed. He had brought dead machines back to life. Maybe he could bring this child back too. He opened his toolkit and began to study the systems around the preservation field. He traced each cable to its source. He learned what each tube was for. He read every diagram on the walls, making notes on his datapad. The sun set outside. His 6 hours had passed long ago. Unji and Taewoo were probably worried sick. But Do-hyun could not leave. Not yet. Not when he had finally found something worth saving. He sent a message through his communicator. It took a long time to reach his children because the ship's hull was so thick. But finally the message went through. I am okay. I found something important. Do not call the guild yet. I need more time. Yoonji's voice came back, cracked and full of static. Father, what did you find? Please tell us you are safe. Do-hyun looked at the sleeping child. At her small face, peaceful in her endless nightmare. At her 4 little hands, crossed over her chest like she was protecting herself. I found a child, he said. A little girl. She has been alone for 879 years, and I am going to bring her home. The communication cut off. Do-hyun put his tools on the floor and sat down next to the preservation field. The quantum core pulsed its endless heartbeat. The child slept her endless sleep. I do not know if you can hear me, Do-hyun said softly. But my name is Kang Do-hyun. I am a mechanic. I fix broken things. And I promise you, I am going to fix this. I am going to set you free. The child did not respond. Of course she did not. She was asleep. She had been asleep for centuries, but for just a moment, Do-hyun thought he saw her crystalline skin glow a little brighter. Just for a second. Then it faded back to its normal rhythm. Maybe it was his imagination. Maybe it was just the light from the quantum core. Or maybe, somewhere deep in her dreams, the child had heard him. Do-hyun smiled sadly and picked up his tools. He had a lot of work to do. Part 3. The mechanic's impossible repair. News traveled fast in space. Within 3 days of Do-hyun's discovery, ships began arriving at Kessler 7. First came the reporters, hungry for a story. Then came the scientists, excited about finding a real Valari artifact. Then came the military. The Galactic Council sent a whole fleet. 20 warships surrounded the salvage moon, their weapons pointed at the planet's surface. They were not taking any chances. A Valari dreadnought was the most dangerous thing in the known universe. Even a dead one. Admiral Tae Kyung-soo led the operation. He was a tall man with cold eyes and a hard face. He had fought in 3 wars and won all of them. He did not care about ancient history or sleeping children. He cared about weapons. That ship contains planet-killing technology, he announced at the first meeting. We must secure it immediately for the safety of the galaxy. Dr. Lim Ha-young from the Xenoarchaeology Institute stood up to argue. She was a small woman with glasses and messy hair. She had spent her whole life studying dead civilizations. The scientific value of this discovery is beyond measure. We need time to study it properly. We cannot just take it apart. I agree with the Admiral, said Representative No Jisoo from the Galactic Trade Federation. Think about the economic benefits. Valari technology could advance our civilization by centuries. They argued for hours. Everyone wanted something from the ship. The military wanted the weapons. The scientists wanted the knowledge. The corporations wanted the technology to sell. Nobody talked about the child. Do-hyun listened to all of this from the back of the room. He was still covered in grease. He had not slept in 3 days. While everyone else was making speeches, he had been inside the ship, studying the systems that kept the little girl alive. Finally, he could not stay quiet anymore. Excuse me, he said, standing up. Everyone turned to look at him. The Admiral frowned. Who is this man? I am Kang Do-hyun. I found the ship, and I have something to say about what you plan to do with it. The Admiral waved his hand dismissively. You are a salvage worker. This matter is too important for civilians. You will receive appropriate compensation for your discovery. And then the Galactic Council will take control. I understand, Do-hyun said calmly. But there is something you do not know. There is a child inside that ship. The room went silent. Dr. Lim leaned forward with interest. A child? A Valari child? Still preserved? Not just preserved, Do-hyun said. Alive. He walked to the front of the room and connected his datapad to the main display. Images appeared on the screen. The quantum core. The preservation field. The little girl floating in the center, cables running through her small body. The Valari did not build normal warships, Do-hyun explained. They bonded children to their vessels. The children became the ships. Their minds controlled everything. This girl is not just a passenger on Eternal Silence. She is Eternal Silence. Admiral Kyung-soo's face did not change. That is interesting information. But it does not change our plans. If anything, it makes securing the ship more urgent. You say this child controls the weapons. That makes her a threat. She is 8 years old, Do-hyun said quietly. She is a weapon system, the Admiral replied. A very dangerous weapon system that has been dormant for 879 years. We cannot take any risks. Do-hyun felt anger rising in his chest. He had felt this kind of anger before. When his 4th child was sick, and the hospital wanted money before they would help. When his 7th child was bullied at school and the teachers did nothing. He was a patient man. But when it came to children, his patience had limits. I have been studying her brain activity, Do-hyun said. She dreams. She has nightmares. She has been dreaming about the death of her people for almost 900 years. Can you imagine that? Being trapped in an endless nightmare for centuries? That is unfortunate, the Admiral said. He did not sound like he thought it was unfortunate. But it does not change the fact that she is connected to weapons capable of destroying planets. Then, disconnect her. Everyone stared at Do-hyun. Dr. Lim shook her head. That is impossible. The Valari designed these systems to be permanent. The bond between pilot and ship cannot be broken. If we try to separate them, both the ship and the child will die. Do-hyun smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a mechanic who had been told something could not be fixed. I have been fixing impossible things for 30 years, he said. Give me time. I can separate the child from the ship. The Admiral laughed. It was a cold, cruel laugh. You? A salvage worker? You expect us to believe that you can do what the greatest Valari engineers could not? The Valari engineers did not want to separate them, Do-hyun said. They wanted the bond to be permanent. But every machine can be taken apart. Every connection can be undone. I just need time to figure out how. How much time? Dr. Lim asked. 6 months. Maybe less. Admiral Kyung-soo shook his head. Absolutely not. We cannot leave that ship unsecured for 6 months. The operation begins tomorrow. Then I will stop you. The room went completely silent. The Admiral's face turned red with anger. You will stop us? With what? You are one man with a toolbox. I am one man who knows more about that ship than anyone else in this room, Do-hyun said. I know where the power systems are. I know where the weak points are. I know how to wake the child up, and if you try to take that ship by force, I will wake her up and tell her what you are planning to do. The Admiral's hand moved toward his sidearm. That sounds like a threat. It is not a threat. It is a fact. You said yourself that she is connected to planet-killing weapons. Do you really want to start a fight with a scared child who can destroy worlds? Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The Admiral and Do-hyun stared at each other across the room. Finally, Dr. Lim broke the silence. Perhaps we should give Mr. Kang his 6 months. The child has been asleep for 879 years. A few more months will not make a difference. And if he is wrong, we can still proceed with the original plan. Admiral Kyung-soo did not look happy. But he was not a stupid man. He understood the risk. If Do-hyun really could wake the child, things could go very badly very quickly. 3 months, the Admiral said finally. You have 3 months. If you cannot separate the child from the ship by then, we will do things my way. Do-hyun nodded. 3 months. I will do it in 3. He walked out of the meeting room without looking back. His heart was beating fast. His hands were shaking. He had just bluffed the most powerful military leader in the galaxy. But it was not really a bluff. He would do whatever it took to save that child. Even if it meant fighting the entire Galactic Council. He walked back to his family's home. Sujin was waiting for him at the door. She looked tired and worried. Behind her, he could see some of his children peeking around the corner. "I heard what happened at the meeting," Sujin said. "Are you crazy? You threatened an admiral." "I did not threaten him," Do-hyun said. "I just explained the situation." Sujin grabbed his hand. Her grip was tight. "Do-hyun, we have 12 children. What happens to them if you get arrested? Or worse?" Do-hyun pulled his wife into a hug. He held her close and breathed in the familiar smell of her hair. "There is a child in that ship," he said quietly. "A little girl. She has been alone in the dark for 879 years. No parents. No family. Just nightmares and silence." He pulled back and looked into Sujin's eyes. "What kind of father would I be if I left her there? What would I teach our children if I walked away?" Sujin was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed and shook her head. "You impossible man. You always find more children to save. Is that a yes?" "It is a yes. But you are not doing this alone. The whole family helps. If we are going to save this girl, we are going to do it together." Do-hyun smiled. A real smile this time. He turned to look at his children, who had stopped hiding and were now standing in the hallway. Unji, Taewoo. All 12 of them, from 24 years old down to little 4-year-old Minjae. "Family meeting," he announced. "We have work to do." And together, the Kang family began the impossible repair. Part 4. First words after 8 centuries. The next 3 months were the hardest of Do-hyun's life. He worked 18 hours a day, every day. He slept on a cot in the engine room, next to the preservation field. He ate when his children brought him food. He showered when Sujin physically dragged him away from his work. But he was not alone. The whole family helped. Unji spent weeks reverse engineering the power systems. The Valari used a type of energy that humans had never seen before. It took her hundreds of failed attempts. But she finally figured out how to create a backup power supply. This was important because when they disconnected the child from the ship, something needed to keep her alive. Taewoo worked on the language and computer systems. The Valari language was complicated. Their computers worked in ways that human machines could not copy. But Taewoo was patient and smart. Slowly, he decoded the command protocols. He learned how to talk to the ship's systems. He learned how to tell the ship to let the child go. The younger children helped in smaller ways. They organized tools. They carried supplies. They kept the work area clean. Even little Minjae helped by bringing water and snacks to everyone who was working. And every day, Minjae would sit by the preservation field and talk to the sleeping girl. He told her about his toys, about his favorite foods, about the games he played with his brothers and sisters. He told her about the funny things that happened at home, about the time their cat got stuck in a box, about the time their mother burned dinner and they had to eat cereal instead. "She cannot hear you," Unji told him one day. "She is in a very deep sleep." Minjae shook his head. "She can hear me. I know she can. She just cannot answer yet." Nobody argued with him after that. The weeks passed. Progress was slow but steady. Do-hyun mapped every cable and tube connected to the child's body. There were 847 of them. Some carried power. Some carried information. Some carried nutrients to keep her body alive. Each one had to be disconnected carefully, in the right order, or the child would die. On the 73rd day, Admiral Kyung-soo came to check on their progress. He brought soldiers with him. They stood around the engine room with their weapons ready, looking at the Valari child like she was a bomb about to explode. "You have 2 weeks left," the admiral said. "Can you do it?" Do-hyun wiped sweat from his forehead. He was exhausted. His hands were covered in tiny cuts from working with alien technology. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Yes," he said. "I can do it." The Admiral looked at the child in the preservation field. For just a moment, his hard face softened. She really is just a child. Is she not? Yes, she is. What will happen to her? After you separate her from the ship? Do-hyun had thought about this question many times. I do not know. She has no family. No home. No people. Everything she knew is gone. He paused. But she will not be alone. I will make sure of that. The Admiral nodded slowly. Then his face went hard again. 2 weeks. Not a day more. He left with his soldiers. Do-hyun went back to work. On the 89th day, everything was ready. The family gathered in the engine room. All 12 children, plus Sujin, plus Do-hyun. They stood in a circle around the preservation field. The quantum core pulsed its steady heartbeat. The Valari child slept her endless sleep. Are you sure about this? Sujin asked. Her voice was shaking. Do-hyun nodded. I have checked everything 100 times. The backup power is ready. The disconnection sequence is programmed. All I have to do is press this button. He held up a small controller. One button. That was all it would take to undo what the Valari had done 879 years ago. What if it does not work? Taewoo asked. Then we will have tried, Do-hyun said. That is all anyone can do. Try. He looked at his family. At the children he had raised. At the wife he had loved for 30 years. They were all scared. He could see it in their faces. But they were also brave. They had helped him every step of the way, knowing that they were risking everything. I love all of you, Do-hyun said. No matter what happens, remember that. Then he pressed the button. The engine room filled with light. The quantum core screamed, a sound like a million voices crying out at once. The preservation field flickered and sparked, and one by one, the cables began to disconnect. The process took 47 minutes. 47 minutes of holding their breath. 47 minutes of watching the child's vital signs on their monitors, praying that the numbers would stay stable. Finally, the last cable released. The preservation field faded away, and the child fell. Do-hyun caught her. She was lighter than he expected. Her crystalline skin was cool to the touch, like smooth glass. He held her carefully, supporting her head the way he had held his own babies when they were newborns. For a long moment, nothing happened. The child did not move, did not breathe. Then her eyes opened. They were blue, deep blue, like the ocean on old Earth. And they were filled with confusion and fear, and something else. Something that looked like hope. Her mouth moved. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. After 879 years of silence, she had forgotten how. Sujin stepped forward. She knelt down beside Do-hyun, so her face was level with the child's. She reached out and took one of the little girl's 4 hands in her own too. It is okay, Sujin said softly. You are safe now. Take your time. The child looked at Sujin, then at Do-hyun, then at all the human children standing around her, watching with curious eyes. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was like crystal bells, soft and musical. Coming through a translation device that Taewoo had built. Where is everyone? The question broke Do-hyun's heart. Such a simple question. Such a terrible answer. Sujin squeezed the child's hand. They are gone, sweetheart. They have been gone a long time. I am so sorry. The child's blue eyes filled with something that was not quite tears. Her crystalline face could not cry the way human faces did. But the emotion was there. The grief. The loss. The terrible understanding of what she had woken up to. How long? She whispered. 879 years. The child closed her eyes. Her whole body began to shake. And then, from outside, from the ship that still orbited the moon, a sound began. It was like nothing any of them had ever heard before. A deep, low wail that seemed to come from the heart of the universe itself. A sound of pure sorrow, broadcast across every channel, every frequency, Every corner of the star system, the ship was crying. Eternal silence. The planet killer, the nightmare of forgotten wars, was mourning for its people, and in the engine room, surrounded by a family of humans she had never met, the Valari child mourned with it. Little Minjay pushed through the circle of his siblings. He walked up to the crying alien girl and sat down next to her. Without saying a word, he took her other two hands in his. "It is okay to be sad," he said quietly. "I am sad sometimes too. But you do not have to be sad alone." The child looked at the small human boy, at his round face and dark eyes and messy hair, at the way he held her hands without fear or hesitation. "What is your name?" she asked. "Minjay." "What is yours?" The child thought for a long moment. "My ship name was Eternal Silence. But my real name, my birth name." She paused, trying to remember something from very long ago. "Vela. My name was Vela." Minjay smiled. "That is a pretty name. Do you want to meet my family, Vela? They are nice. They will like you." Vela looked around at all the humans watching her. At the mother who had held her hand. At the father who had freed her. At all the children who had worked so hard to save her. For the first time in 879 years, she smiled. "Yes," she said. "I would like that very much." And that was how Vela, the last of the Valari, became the 13th child of the Kang family. Part 5. What the Humans Taught the Stars. The legal battle lasted 2 years. 16 different civilizations claimed rights to eternal silence and its weapons. The Kelfari Empire said the ship had crashed in their space first, so it belonged to them. The Trade Federation said salvage rights meant nothing when matters of galactic security were involved. 3 different religions declared the ship to be a holy artifact that should be given to their temples. Everyone wanted the weapons. Nobody wanted the child. Except for the Kang family. While diplomats argued and lawyers fought, Vela lived with her new human family on Kessler 7. It was a strange life for everyone at first. Vela had to learn how to do everything again, how to walk without floating, how to eat without tubes feeding her, how to sleep without machines controlling her dreams. Sujin was patient. She taught Vela the same way she had taught her own children. Slowly, gently, with lots of love and no pressure. Food was the first challenge. Vela had not eaten real food in 879 years. Her body had forgotten how. But Sujin was determined. She tried everything. Soup, rice, noodles, bread. Most of it Vela could not keep down. Then, one day, Sujin made kimchi jjigae. It was a spicy stew, red and hot, and full of vegetables and tofu. The smell filled the whole house. Vela took one bite. Her crystalline skin turned bright pink. Her eyes went wide. "This is good," she said, surprised. "This is very good," Sujin laughed. "I knew we would find something you liked." After that, Vela ate kimchi jjigae almost every day. Sometimes twice a day. Her skin would always turn pink when she ate it. And the other children would laugh and tease her gently. She did not mind. For the first time in centuries, she had a favorite food. Learning to be part of a family was harder than learning to eat. The Valari had not raised their children the way humans did. Vela had been taken from her parents when she was very young and trained to be a ship pilot. She did not remember bedtime stories, or family dinners, or birthday parties. She did not understand why the Kang children argued over toys and then hugged each other 5 minutes later. "Why do they fight if they love each other?" she asked Do-hyun one night. Do-hyun laughed softly. He was sitting in his workshop, fixing a broken water pump. Even with all the attention from the galactic media, he still had regular work to do. Ships still broke down. Equipment still needed repairs. "Families are complicated," he explained. "People can love each other and still get angry sometimes. It does not mean they love each other less. It just means they are honest about their feelings." Vela thought about this. The Valari were not like that. We were trained to control our emotions. Feelings were dangerous. They could affect the ship, and now Now that you are not connected to the ship anymore? Vela looked at her 4 hands. They were smaller than human hands, but they could hold things now. Tools. Food. Her siblings' hands when they walked together. Now I feel everything. It is overwhelming sometimes. But also... She paused, searching for the right word. Beautiful. Feelings are beautiful. Do-hyun smiled and went back to his work. He did not say anything else. He did not need to. Sometimes the best conversations were the quiet ones. Min-jae became Vela's best friend. He was only 4 years old, but he understood things that older people did not. He never asked Vela about the war, or the weapons, or why her people had died. He just wanted to play. They would spend hours together, building things with blocks, drawing pictures, making up stories about adventures in space. Vela had never played before. The concept was strange to her at first. Doing something just for fun? With no purpose? No goal? But Min-jae was patient. He showed her how to have fun, how to be silly, how to laugh at things that were not important. You are my best friend, Min-jae told her one day. Vela felt warmth spread through her chest. A feeling she was learning to recognize as happiness. You are my best friend too. The legal arguments continued. Ships from different civilizations orbited Kessler 7, watching and waiting. News reporters broadcast stories about the Valari child and the human mechanic who had saved her. Some people called Do-hyun a hero. Others called him a fool who was putting the galaxy at risk. Admiral Kyung-soo came to visit again. This time he came alone, without soldiers. He sat in the Kang family kitchen and drank tea that Soo-jin made for him. The council wants to question the girl, he said. They want to know about Valari weapons, technology, military secrets. Do-hyun shook his head. She was a child when her civilization fell. She does not know military secrets. She barely remembers her own childhood. I believe you, the admiral said quietly, but others do not. They are scared. A Valari dreadnought is the most powerful weapon ever created, and it is still out there, orbiting this moon, connected to a child who lives in your house. Vela is not a weapon. I know. I have watched your family for 2 years now. I have seen how you treat her. How she has grown. The admiral paused. But the ship is still there, still full of planet-killing technology. The council cannot ignore that forever. That night, Do-hyun told Vela about the conversation. She listened quietly, her blue eyes serious. They want to take the ship, she said. It was not a question. Yes, or destroy it. They have not decided yet. Vela was quiet for a long time. Then she stood up and walked to the window. She looked up at the sky, where eternal silence was orbiting, invisible but always present. I am still connected to it, she said quietly. Not like before. Not physically. But I can feel it. The quantum entanglement is permanent. Part of me will always be part of that ship. Do-hyun felt his heart sink. What does that mean? Vela turned to face him. Her crystalline skin glowed softly in the dark room. It means I have a choice. The ship does what I tell it to do. I could tell it to fight, to defend itself, to destroy anyone who tries to take it. But I do not want to. Vela walked back to where Do-hyun was sitting and took his rough, calloused hand in her small, crystalline one. You taught me something, Father, you and Mother and all my brothers and sisters. You taught me that there are better things than fighting, better things than power and weapons and war. Do-hyun felt tears forming in his eyes. What are you going to do? Vela smiled. It was a sad smile, but also proud. I am going to talk to the galaxy. And I am going to make a choice. I am going to make a choice. The broadcast happened 2 days later. Every news channel in the galaxy carried it. Billions of people watched as Vela, the last of the Valari, spoke to the universe from the Kang family's kitchen table. For 879 years, I dreamed of death, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. I dreamed of my people burning. I dreamed of stars going dark. I dreamed of silence and darkness and endless fear. I was built to be a weapon, the ultimate weapon, and I knew nothing else. She paused, looking around at her human family, who stood behind her. Then a mechanic found me. A human man with rough hands and a kind heart. A father of 12 children who had no reason to help me. No reason to care if I lived or died. Vela smiled at Do-hyun, but he spent months of his life learning how to set me free. Not to use me. Not to control me. To free me. The broadcast went out to every corner of civilized space. Leaders and civilians alike stopped what they were doing to watch. My people built me to destroy worlds, Vela continued. But Kang Do-hyun taught me to repair them. He taught me that a wrench is mightier than a warship. That patience is stronger than weapons. That the most powerful force in the universe is not fire, or energy, or quantum technology. She stood up straighter. And across the galaxy, sensors detected something impossible. Eternal silence. The ancient dreadnought began to change. Its weapon systems powered down. Its shields dropped. It stopped being a warship and became just a ship. The most powerful force in the universe is love, Vela said. A parent's love for their child. A child's love for their family. A stranger's love for someone they have never met. She looked directly into the camera, speaking to everyone watching. I am Vela. I am the daughter of Do-hyun and Soo-jin. I am the sister of 12 humans who decided I was family before they even knew my name. And I choose not to be a weapon anymore. The broadcast ended. The galaxy held its breath. And then, in governments and temples and homes across 1,000 star systems, people began to cry, to cheer, to hope. 5 years later, eternal silence still orbited Kessler 7. But it was not a warship anymore. Do-hyun had converted it into the largest repair station in the sector. Ships from any civilization could come there for help. No questions asked. No payment required if they could not afford it. Vela ran the station. She was connected to the ship again, but differently now. By choice, not by force. Her mind guided the repair drones. Her heart powered the healing systems. She had turned a weapon of destruction into a tool of repair. Every night, the Kang family gathered for dinner in a mess hall that had once been designed for war. 13 children now, including Vela, plus Soo-jin and Do-hyun, a little older, a little grayer, but still the heart of the family. The table was loud with conversation, arguments about whose turn it was to do dishes, jokes about embarrassing things that happened during the day, stories about the ships that came to the station for help. Do-hyun sat at the head of the table, watching his family, his 12 human children, his 1 Valari daughter, his wife, who had supported him through everything. When the meal was almost over, he asked the same question he asked every night. So, what broke today that we need to fix tomorrow? Vela smiled. Her crystalline skin glowed warm gold in the light. Around her, her siblings laughed and talked and argued about what they would work on next. Nothing that cannot be repaired, father, she said. And for the first time in 879 years, the universe was a little bit brighter. Because sometimes the most human thing is not building the biggest weapon or winning the greatest battle. Sometimes the most human thing is picking up your tools, finding something broken, and fixing it with love. That is what the humans taught the stars, and that is why they will never be forgotten. The end.